Nebraska spring practice is getting close, and some conversations have started to arise. Who are some true freshmen for the Cornhuskers who will start to turn heads and earn playing time going into the fall? So in this video, we're going to highlight a couple of these players. We'll talk about what they bring to the table, and we'll outline some predictions, not only for their freshman campaign, but for their entire Husker career as a whole. So real quick, if you like the content, please hit the like button on this video. It's completely free and it helps me out, along with subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any more Nebraska football content this offseason. But without further ado, let's get into it, talking about this recruiting class and spring ball for the Cornhuskers. And right off the gate, we're talking about probably the most hyped up recruiting class by Nebraska in the last decade plus. Headlined by five-star recruit Dylan Raiola, but there's a lot more talent in there. Plenty of four stars. It ended as a top 20 class format rule, the first of many. So the hype is there, but now it's time for them to do it on the field. So let's start it off with the early enrollees. Out of the bunch, there were 16 guys who are now currently enrolled with the university and are practicing with the team. And out of this bunch gives the best opportunity for these players to start as a true freshman. A lot of times when you get on campus in the summer, it's harder to learn the playbook. It's harder to get accustomed to the team. And you really don't see those players play in their true freshman year. But playing and getting to Lincoln in January to really learn that playbook and get accustomed with your teammates gives you a phenomenal opportunity, gets you a leg up over the competition. So really, why I went in detail about all that is because these are the primary players who will play as a true freshman, and I have four outlined who I think will. Starting off with the obvious, the man, the myth, the legend, Dylan Raiola, five-star quarterback. And there's going to be so many lofty expectations all over social media, all over the internet over the next couple months. First off, let's answer the question. I'm not going to feed into any of the rumors. Yes, he's going to be your quarterback in the first game of the season against UTEP. Heinrich Harburg's not going to beat him out. Daniel Kaelin's not going to beat him out. Nobody's going to beat him out. Yes, he will be your quarterback one, and you're not going to think twice about it. But really, there's going to be a lot more expectations than that. Can he be all Big Ten? Can he be a All-American true freshman? All these things. Let's start it off just comparing him to some of the other Big Ten quarterbacks. I expect him to be top 5 in the conference when it comes to that quarterback spot. And you might say, Wilson, you just talked about not having lofty expectations, and you just put that out there. But really, I don't think that's too big of an expectation. We're talking about a conference that has not really been good at the quarterback spot the last couple of years. It's the exact same way this year, despite the fact that you add 4 new teams. We talk about Dylan Gabriel, who was the new Oregon quarterback. He's projected to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. We've played against Dylan Gabriel. We know he's a good player. Would we say he's a upper echelon elite quarterback? Absolutely not. There's a reason he transferred. You know, the number 2 quarterback is supposed to be Will Rogers, who transferred in from Mississippi State, who Nebraska had an opportunity to land if they really wanted him. They decided, no, we're not going to land him. We want Dylan Raiola, and we got Dylan Raiola. So those are your 2 best quarterbacks. I'm not saying Raiola is going to be better than either of those guys, but I'm saying he's going to be right there next to him. There's no reason, in my opinion, he shouldn't be top 5 within the conference. Not only that, but I think Dylan Raiola is going to be a true freshman All-American. I absolutely believe he will be. And the reason I think that is because not only is he the only quarterback in this cycle who's projected to be a true freshman the second he steps on, or not a true freshman. Yes, he's going to be a true freshman. He's going to be a quarterback one the second he steps on campus. But just because of the talent, the raw athleticism, the fact that he's the number 1 quarterback in the country, we talk about some of the other 5-stars quarterbacks. DJ Langway has a good opportunity to beat him out, another 5-star committed to Florida, but he still has to beat out Graham Mertz. He's not currently projected to be their quarterback in the fall. We talk about some of the Ohio State quarterbacks who are coming in, whether that's Aaron Nolan, who's a high 4-star quarterback, or Julian Sayin, who's another 5-star quarterback committed to Ohio State. They're also not currently projected to start. So just the reason alone that Dylan Raiola is going to start all 12 games, hopefully for the Cornhuskers, gives me reason to believe that he's going to be a true freshman All-American. Very similar to Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez, him and Trevor Lawrence were All-Americans as a true freshman. They were the only 2. The reason why Adrian Martinez, I mean, he was good as a true freshman. Wasn't the greatest in the world. But the reason he was is because he played all the games for Nebraska. That's the same reason I think Dylan will be. Let's talk about the stats real quick because people really love to project stats. I don't think the stats are going to look the most pretty, right? He's not going to have 500 million passing yards. But you also have to keep in the fact that Matt Rule doesn't operate that way. He's not an air raid type of coach. Really, I expect him to pass around 3,000 yards as a total, right? That's fine. But the things that I'm going to be looking for, the completion percentage, and how many sacks he's taking, right? Not only is that an indicator of your O-line, but it's an indicator of the quarterback's pocket awareness. And I really think Dylan Raiola is one of the most pocket sound quarterbacks we've seen come out of high school in such a long time, where I want him to prove it. Now, I saw it on film, now prove it at a new level. So those are the two stats I think I'm going to look at the most, and I think he's going to excel. So Dylan Raiola, the sky's the limit. I wouldn't, say he's going to be Heisman or anything. Don't say that. You're putting too much weight on him, but he's going to be good, guys. Now let's get into my second guy who I think is going to play as a true freshman, who is an early enrollee. And this one's Willis McGahee. Jack of all trades type of linebacker. Great motor, plays anywhere on this defense. 4-star prospect out of Miami, Florida. And if you're not familiar with him at all, you might be familiar with his dad, who was under the same name, Willis McGahee. Came out of Miami as a running back and was just a complete legend there. One of the best running backs of all time for the Hurricanes. And really, I don't want to say Willis got his dad's entire genes, but he definitely got the motor part, the athleticism part, just the natural upside part. But he does play on the defensive side of the ball, unlike the offensive side of the ball. So I think he's such a really good player. Again, he's probably going to play Jack for the Cornhuskers. And when you look at that Jack spot, there's only one player who really is going to beat him out, and that's going to be MJ Sherman. But even that, I think that McGahee has a really good opportunity to beat him out. I don't think MJ Sherman is as good as we really thought he was coming out of Georgia. So, and, not only do I think he'll probably beat him out, but he's one of those players very similar to Princewell and Manmulum, where Princewell didn't start at the start of the year, but when we got to Wisconsin, Iowa, those really last couple games, he was a constant starter to the point where he got All-American honors according to PFF. So I think that's going to be very similar when it comes to Willis McGahee. That's my second player. Now let's get into my third player, 4-star cornerback, Mario Buford, brother of Marquez Buford. And you listen to the staff talk about him when he's been on campus so far. Hard worker, just a guy who loves football, loves to work. Very similar to his brother Marquez. Super talented player, super talented kid coming out of one of the best high school programs in the entire country in DeSoto, Texas. And not only do I think he's talented, not only do I think he's a quick learner, really smart player, but the secondary is wide open. We've seen a lot of young players walk into Nebraska and play as a true freshman, play as a true sophomore. We saw Malcolm Hartzog do that a couple years back. We saw Tommy Hill do it as a true sophomore. So we see guys do that all the time, and I think it's very similar this year. There's a lot of dudes. There's not a lot of studs in that secondary room. So I think Mario Buford has a good opportunity to do that and play right away and chip at some playing time. So that's my third player. Now let's get into my fourth and final player, who's an early enrollee who I think is going to play as a true freshman, and that's Vincent Shavers. I made a film reaction talking about this guy, and I fell in love with him as a player. Phenomenal. I mean, just ridiculously good, super underlooked. And I talk about that linebacker room. He plays linebacker, probably going to be more of a traditional linebacker, more so at that Mike spot. But I compared him to Levante David. He might not be the smartest player in the world, but he's going to find the football and he's going to make you pay. So that's really the type of instincts that Matt Rule looks for. It's we love to talk about X's and O's and studying film, but sometimes it's about who has that dog in them, who's going to make a play, who wants it the most, and that's what you get with Vincent Shavers, and that's what Nebraska fans have looked for a long time. Super athletic freak, a guy who's already put on 20 pounds since he's been on campus in January. I expect Vincent Shavers to start some point this year and then be a clear-cut starter going into a sophomore campaign. Now let's get into some of the non-enrollees who I think have an opportunity to get some playing time, starting off with Carter Nelson. So I'm on record talking about Carter Nelson. I said that I do not expect him to play as a true freshman unless you put him basically at a hybrid flex tight end / wide receiver spot. I was right. It was reported that Matt Rule is looking to do that. They're looking to basically put him at wide receiver. And the reason you do that is because, yes, he's a 4-star prospect, top 100 prospect. Yes, great motor, great upside. You check all the boxes. He's just not big enough. His weight does not reflect his height. He's only listed at 210 pounds, super skinny. He needs to get up to that 240 range before I'd even consider him putting him at traditional tight end. It's not about talent. It's not about any of that. It's just about getting in the weight room. So that's really why I didn't expect him to play as a true freshman. I really don't think I do. We'll see if they put him at wide receiver. Again, you got to learn the playbook as well. And it also should be considered that he played 8-man football in high school. Sometimes it takes guys a lot of time to really get used to 11-man, really get used to normal football rather than playing 8-man in Western Nebraska, or basically playing against guys who are never going to play the sport again. So that should be something to watch out for. But he's one of those players where he's so talented. If he somehow finds the field, Matt Rhule's never going to take him off. So watch out for him. And really, some of the other players they're going to watch out for who are not early enrollees, Isaiah Morris. I was super high on him. He's my number one ranked wide receiver that Nebraska landed. And really, the reason why I think he's going to start is because of his return ability. We saw that at Bellevue West. He plays punt return along with kick returner. He can take it to the crib at any point in time. Nebraska is actively looking for an explosive dude back there. I know Ed Foley loves that, our special teams coordinator. And that's really what I think you go with Isaiah Morris. I could see him start from the get-go as a kick returner if he's that explosive. So those are really the two as non-early enrollees who I think will play potentially. There are a couple guys I left out who I really don't think are going to play. All of the O-linemen we signed, Grant Bricks, Gibson Pyle, Perez Demoa, all 4-star prospects. I don't expect any one of them to play as a true freshman. That's a good thing. Not because of their talent. They're all really talented. But you do not want true freshmen starting. That tells you basically how bad our O-line is. They're going to be depth pieces, but I do not expect to see them at all. And then a lot of other of our wide receivers. We talk about Ja'Cory Barney. We talk about Davon Hall. I don't expect to see them at all. I just don't think they're going to play at all. Really raw players, guys who need to get in the film room, guys who need to learn the playbook. But by the time they get to their sophomore campaign, expect them to make some plays for the Cornhuskers. So let me know down below what you think. Who are some players that you're super excited to see potentially play as true freshmen? And one thing I want to add is the spring game is going to be a massive indicator for every single one of these guys. Okay, those 16 early enrollees we talked about at the start of the video. Okay, every single one of those will get reps in that spring game, and that's going to be a massive indicator by the amount of reps they get and how well they play, who will actually get on the field in Lincoln when games actually matter. So, again, watch out for that. But again, let me know down below who you're excited to see, and everything else, I'll try to respond to everybody. Like the video, subscribe so you don't miss out any more Nebraska football content. And as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.